Good evening. I'm glad to see you all here this evening. Welcome to the James A. McKee Association 2025. We have helpers tonight, so. This is a 2025 Candidates Night. My name is Kate Anderson Kerrigan. I'm the current president of the McKee Association. For over 30 years, the McKee Association has been presenting candidate nights for citizens to have an opportunity to speak to candidates personally. And when we have local elections, that's when we do it. So tonight, we are presenting candidates for the Miami Township trustee slots and the Yellow Springs School Board. So that's who you have sitting here today. Each candidate is going to have an opportunity to make an introduction and also answer a common question that was delivered to them before tonight. That question, I will let you know what that is. Why are you running for the elected office? And what 3 items or issues do you feel need attention for the township? Now, the township includes the village of Yellow Springs, Clifton, and 25 miles of surrounding farmland, which I didn't know that, so now I'm sharing that with you. We have a timekeeper. This evening, our timekeeper is Mayor Pam. Yes. She is going to help keep people on track. So, folks, you know where to look. She's out there, and she will prompt you tonight. So, this evening's moderator is our friend Fred Bartenstein. Fred has done this before. Fred's lived in Yellow Springs since 1990, and he's facilitated candidate nights numerous times, as well as other facilitations in the village. He is a retired organizational developmental consultant, a profession in which he managed participatory processes for government, nonprofits, and businesses. A fun fact about Fred is his expertise in bluegrass and country music. You may know about that part of him. And he has written and edited 5 books about that. So thanks, Fred, for being here tonight. We appreciate that. So this is the citizen opportunity to ask questions of candidates directly. So we left index cards and pencils on the chairs for you to use. If you didn't get one or you need one, someone raise your hand and someone will bring you something to write on and with. Please be thoughtful and focus to issues. You may ask a general question or direct to someone specifically. We'll gather the cards, hand them to the moderator for him to present. It is at the discretion of the moderator to decide the value of a question. There are no rebuttals, but a candidate may ask the moderator for clarification of the question. So this year, for the first time, we invited Yellow Springs middle and high school students to submit questions. As future civic leaders and community members, they are important to all aspects of the election process. It's a pleasure to have their participation this evening under the auspices of the Yellow Springs Community Foundation Youth Action Board, now in its 6th year, and it's facilitated by our Melissa Heston, Outreach Manager for Yellow Springs Community Foundation. Thanks, Melissa. She's not here, but thank you. Yeah. So we of the James A. McKee Association would like to invite you to membership. We do important civic work. Please find membership information on the back table there, or don't hesitate to come find me and I will sign you up gladly so that we can continue the work that was started by Chief McKee a long time ago. There's many decades of supporting the Yellow Springs community and particularly African American community here. So In the spirit of this, we have awarded to the Youth Action Board a lifetime membership to the James A. McKee Association, and we intend to put them to work. They are your future, so we have to bring them along. We have to show them how this works. So, all right. So this is what democracy looks like. That's what we're doing tonight, democracy. All right, you remember that, right? Yes. So for tonight, please welcome for your consideration the candidates for the office of Miami Township Trustee, Lori Askeland, Jed Hanna, and Marilan Moir. And for the Yellow Springs School Board, Paul Herzog, Kristina Nowack Myers, and Kim Reichelderfer. Kim, not Krim, Kim Reichelderfer. All right, so we're going to turn the proceeding over to Fred now. Keep writing questions. We'll get them and hand them up, and let's have a good conversation.
Great. As I'm sure you know, there are 3 candidates running for township trustees, and there are 2 seats. And we're going to call on our candidates in alphabetical order, beginning with Lori Askeland.
Hi, everybody. First off, thank you so much to the James A. McKee Association for hosting this forum and for your many years of helping us come together as a community to talk about the things that really matter to us. So I really appreciate that. I'm running for Miami Township Trustee because I love this place. The villages of Clifton and Yellow Springs and the rural areas are beautiful natural preserves and the farmlands that connect them and surround them. I've spent more than 27 years here, invested in the community in a variety of ways, and I've learned that good local government is one of the strongest tools we have to protect what we love: our land, our water, our people. I bring decades of management and government experience to this job. I served 8 years on the Yellow Springs Village Council and spent nearly 30 years as a university faculty member at Wittenberg, where I helped manage budgets, lead committees, collaborate across departments in a feisty organization not so much smaller than a small township. I know how to build transparent systems, facilitate honest discussions, make sure communication is happening, and help diverse people work together towards shared goals. And I care deeply about stewardship of both land and community. I grew up on an Iowa farm, married my childhood neighbor who was also from a farm, and together we permanently restored 160 acres of family farmlands to wetlands and tallgrass prairie. My experience in agriculture and academia have taught me that long-term sustainability requires careful management and not just good intentions. So our township is at a kind of a turning point. We transitioned from a volunteer-based fire and EMS service with just 2 staff to professional departments of about 16 employees total. That's a huge step for safety and service, but also means we need professional management practices to match and much closer attention to our physical health. We need clear personnel manuals, transparent communication, and a culture of accountability and collaboration at every level. And that's the kind of leadership I would love to bring to you: steady, transparent, organized, and people-centered. So the 3 main issues that I would like to address are strengthening management and governance. Our first real challenge is basic organizational management. That's Fred's field, really. The township has grown more complex, especially with our professional fire rescue department, but its internal systems haven't really kept pace. So we need stronger procedures. These are not so exciting, but agendas and meeting packets that are complete and shared in advance and then followed in the meetings. A clear division of labor and accountability. If something is everybody's if it's everybody's responsibility, it can become nobody's responsibility until somebody panics and does it. And so we can't have that anymore. A forward-looking budgeting process that aligns operational spending with long-term capital planning. This, I think, is essential for earning public trust, and I have decades of experience managing collaborative projects, building transparent systems. I'll work closely and collaboratively with the fiscal officer and fire rescue leadership to modernize management practices and ensure every dollar is spent wisely. Secondly, affordability and fiscal responsibility. State government has reduced spending to local municipalities while giving tax breaks to corporations and assistance to billionaires. That leaves townships, schools, villages relying on levies, raising property taxes that fall hardest on residents with fixed or limited incomes. As a trustee, I'll advocate alongside other local leaders for a fair funding model. We need to organize township-level lobbying efforts, I think, to make sure small communities like ours have a voice in Columbus. I want to locally work to strengthen our budgeting process so we can plan ahead and reduce surprises that can lead to things like emergency levies or reactive spending. Good management, to me, is the foundation of fiscal responsibility. And then thirdly, collaborative, people-driven and data-driven decision-making. I think we need to restore trust and civility at all levels of government in this country, actually, but especially in local decision-makings, whether the issue is annexation, solar sightings, or what agritourism means, or creative sites like the Weirich Pavilion. Residents deserve transparent processes where people can be heard and where decisions are guided both by real data on shared documents that we all have access to and our diverse community experiences. That means creating forums for dialogues before issues become conflicts and using the township's role to convene and not divide neighbors. It means protecting our soil, water, and open spaces while helping working families and local farmers thrive. My background as an educator has prepared me well for this work. For 30 years, I've helped adults learn together even when they disagree. I've effectively worked and herded cats, managed people with tenure who have lots of ways to ignore management, but who long for well-run organizations. That's my feeling, what citizens want too. They want communication, they want things well-run, and they're not always happy with people pushing them and telling them what to do. So I think that's what we need now, leadership that listens deeply, manages effectively, helps our township move forward as a well-run professional organization. So I'm running because I love this community. I'll bring this commitment to stewardship and decades of experience of collaboration and education and management, and I think Miami Township is ready for this next level of professional, transparent, and accountable governments. I hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
Mayor Pam, play the sound effect so everybody knows what it sounds like.
I think I heard it. It's Rod Stanley or something. It's the sticky sound. Yeah. When I heard it,
Okay, just wanted to make sure everybody gets it. All right, the next speaker will be Jed Hanna.
Okay, I came here tonight very nervous, and after that speech, I'm even more nervous. I'm a lot more simple person. My name is Jed Hanna. I'm honored to be a candidate for Miami Township trustee. I have lifelong roots in Greene County, and have been a proud Miami Township homeowner for the last 25 years. I grew up on Cedarville Yellow Springs Road on my family's farm, where I learned the value of hard work, community, and stewardship of the land. Over the years, I've raised grass-fed cattle, boar goats, and farmed corn, soybeans, and wheat. Our family farm has been in the family for over 150 years. It's where I learned to care for the land and respect my neighbors and value rural character, which makes our township special. Beyond the farm, I've been proud to serve the community in other ways as a current committee member for the Tecumseh Land Trust, a former employee of Cedarville Township, a former board member of the Greene County Farm Bureau, and these experiences have strengthened me very much so. Sorry for this delays. All right. Okay, people are built, when people are built to work together, that's what matters the most. When I was a young man, I looked up to the trustees who served the township before me. They were people of integrity. They were neighbors who stepped up to guide and protect their communities. I always knew that one day I would follow in their footsteps and serve the same way. Today, as father, I am raising my family here. I want to make sure Miami Township remains a place where families can thrive and where future generations can enjoy the same rural beauty and strong community values that shaped my life. If elected as township trustee, I'll bring a strong rural voice to the township, and other trustee candidates respectfully live within the village. The other trustees they live in the village, not in the township where I preside. I believe a rural perspective of honors and agricultural heritage while planning responsibility for the future. My priorities are clear and practical. One, I support the fire and EMS services to ensure the fire and EMS departments have the resources, staffing, and equipment they need to respond quickly and effectively. Public safety is non-negotiable. Number two, I'd like to protect the land and rural character, keeping the farmland preserved and resist unnecessary annexation of large agricultural areas. We should focus on revitalizing existing housing and town spaces before expanding outward. I'd like to maintain the roads, the cemeteries, and the infrastructure, keeping the township well-maintained, safe, respectful of our history from the road, on the roads and the cemeteries that honor generations that passed. I believe leadership means listening first and making decisions to serve the whole township. Together we can protect what makes Miami Township special while ensuring we're ready to meet tomorrow's challenges with strength and common sense. Again, my name is Jed Hanna. I humbly ask for your support and vote for me as trustee. Let's keep this township strong together. Thank you.
The third trustee candidate in alphabetical order is Marilan Moir.
Hello. My name is Marilan Moir. I'm running for township trustee, obviously. Good evening, Miami Township, and thank you, McKee Association, for this important election event that we've come to expect but must not take for granted. We all know that this happens because everyday people make it happen, so thank you. I'm running to be elected to the township board, to be re-elected to the Township Board of Trustees because we're in the midst of a very transitional time in Miami Township's history. The things we put in place are going to be a heavy lift, and I don't see this as normal duties for a township trustee. I think that the work that will be done by the next iteration of the board, starting in January, is going to benefit the township as a whole and set the table for future trustees to be able to govern more easily and efficiently. In the course of my first term, we've had a huge turnover, a generational turnover at Miami Township in all departments: fire and rescue department, zoning department, fiscal office, and probably soon in the road and bridge department, as Dan Gokenauer, our beloved and longtime serving road superintendent, has promised to work for a few more years. Talented new people have stepped up to take these positions, and we're building a team. I wish I had time to brag about the team. Despite dramatic headlines, we have a lot of camaraderie and joy in our work at Miami Township, and I hope you will give me the chance to have one more term. My first goal is to have a well-equipped, first-rate fire and rescue operation. The improvements we've made in the last couple of years is something I'm very proud of, and the Board of Trustees should be proud of the work we've done together, and we've all worked hard to get here. The team of Captain Nate Ayers, Chief Jim Cannell, and our industry expert consultant, Chief Fred Kauser, they've worked together to reimagine and reorganize our department. They produced a smart, sustainable, and compliant staffing model and have created our first professional budget that is finally beginning to project out 5 and 10 years. Workplace morale has improved, and we are building a culture of pride and accountability. So this is a real untold story that has gotten lost in the fray of other issues, but we have more work to do. Specifically, we need a capital plan for equipment and vehicles, which we've never had before. We have lived with more of a break-fix model. Much of our maintenance involves emergency breakdowns rather than planned replacement and maintenance. This is not amenable to good financial planning, and it's not cost-effective, and it's not worthy of our first responders. My second goal is to improve budgeting and spending approval procedures. I'm not talking about the fire and rescue budget right now. As I said, our department leadership now has them on a good path. I'm talking about the budgets in our cemetery fund, our road and bridge funds, and especially our general fund. They still need work. I was here last night for the Village Council Candidate Forum, and I was really envious of council members and council candidates who talked about attending budgetary work sessions for 2026. I was envious because Miami Township trustees don't have budget planning sessions. We historically kind of shoot from the hip and eyeball the budget and tweak the budget from last year. And then we not only have to amend our appropriations frequently to account for our lack of planning, but we increasingly run into conflict mid-year because we don't have an agreed upon set of goals. We're currently not doing the upfront work. A budget should be a roadmap, and right now our budgets are not roadmaps, they're more like scorecards, keeping track of our spending rather than driving it. My third goal is for our zoning department. We have 2 commissions in our zoning department. The Zoning Commission, which is akin to the village's Planning Commission, and the Board of Zoning Appeals, 5 members each, a total of 10 people. And those boards can only be occupied by unincorporated rural residents. So that leaves a pool of about 800 people from which to choose our 10 commission members. And this has resulted in members being on the board for 5, 10, sometimes 15 years or more. And I'm happy to say that I have actively recruited 6 new members for these boards in my last term and have increased the representation on the boards by age, gender, and occupation. And I personally hope for these boards that they can, in the future, take an evidence-based, careful look at 3 issues. One is small commercial distribution of solar. A review of our rigid rules about accessory dwellings on agricultural lands. We currently have a rule that no matter how large the parcel of land, you could have only 1 dwelling. And I can't get into right now why some of the reasons that's a problem. And I hope we can commit to the adoption of a festival or event permit to encourage creative economic activity instead of continually relying on temporary use permits for events. We need to change our outlook to describing what we do want instead of describing what we don't want. Thank you.
As Kate told you earlier, this is the first year at Candidates Night that the Youth Action Board from the middle school and high school have developed questions. And Ace is here from the Youth Action Board, and she is going to present a question that each of the 3 township trustee candidates will have 1 minute to respond to. Your first question, Ace.
So the first question we have is, how do you plan to improve the township for the residents and for the environment?
Well, I started last time. Does somebody else want to start this time? Sure. Okay.
For the residents and for the environment. Well, for the environment, I plan to keep encouraging the Zoning Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals to take an evidence-based approach, to gather facts, to increase participation in public hearings on decisions that are made about land use, annexation, solar development, and other issues.
Well, this is a great question, and I think the township is already doing a lot. We have these large preserved areas, Glen Helen, Clifton Gorge, the John Bryan Park, right? So we have an extraordinary wealth of land that gets a great deal of attention. And as Jed pointed out, farmers have a conservation ethos, especially generational farmers. But it's difficult. It's difficult to make enough money with farming, even with subsidies. There are things that eat into profit margins, like doing cover crops to make sure soil stays in place. I would love to see our federal government and state government offer more assistance to farmers so they can work on the best practices around soil conservation in particular. I think we have to be really attentive to our water, our riparian systems, the rivers that go through. That's the lifeblood, and a lot of fertilizers, both from lawns in the villages and in the rural areas, go into rivers and down to the Gulf of Mexico. So we need to think about that, and I'd like to see a lot of people in town paying attention to that.
Okay, I'd like to see that we run the township like a business and run it like we do our farms, and just keep things going, use the taxpayers' money as should be. For the environment, we should just do what is needed to be done. I mean, keep up with the times and keep everything kosher. That's all I got.
The Youth Action Board have a second question for the township trustees. They'll each have 1 minute to respond.
Our second question is, how public will you be with your plans?
How public will you be with your plans? Was the question correct? Okay. Do either of you want to start with this one?
Will be as public as the meetings are. I guess every meeting is held to the public, and you can come every 2 weeks and see and partake in the meetings.
We have made great progress in agenda development. agenda availability and supporting document availability. We've made great strides in making our minutes and our documents available on our website, and that's all I have.
Let's acknowledge the Youth Action Board.
Can I answer?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all
I
right.
didn't see it coming that way.
That's all right. But definitely, I want to thank the youth for asking really good questions, actually. And so back to the question. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. I think making things public is actually super vital, and it's one thing I kind of specialized in while I was on council, and I'm already picking up the practice while I'm running for trustee. When I was on council, before every meeting, I copied and pasted the agenda into an email, and I explained how I understood each piece in the agenda and what I understood about the supporting documents related to that agenda item, and how I was leaning for a vote and inviting people to give me feedback in case I was down the wrong track. And so I have already started attending. I've been attending the meetings since April, and I write an email to everybody, and then I post it on a blog. I always go through it before I go through the blog to make sure there aren't citizens' names or anything in there that I'm not sure, about. So I remove anything that would be a little more private, but I post it so people can see exactly what I'm thinking, and that's how I handle things.
And now let's acknowledge the Youth Action Board. Ace will be back to ask 2 questions of the school board candidates, but now the school board candidates get to make their presentations. And we will start in alphabetical order with Paul Herzog.
Good evening. My name's Paul Herzog, and I would like to first thank the James E. McKee Association for continuing to organize this amazing event for our village. If you had told me a year ago I'd be on this stage today making my case to be on the Yellow Springs School Board, I might have thought you'd lost your mind. So let me explain how I got here. I grew up down the road in Springfield and spent a lot of time here in Yellow Springs during my youth and high school years. I left the area after graduation, but found my way back to Dayton and Yellow Springs around 2002 when I met my wife, Melissa, while she lived here on Limestone Street. Saying we'd be back one day, never knowing what that really meant, we moved to Columbus in 2003, got married in 2005, purchased a business, and started our little family in 2007 with the birth of our first fearless thinker, Lily. Logan would join us in 2011. And in April of 2015, while camping in John Bryan over spring break, Melissa spotted a for rent sign before we met my parents for dinner at Trail Tavern one evening. That June, we sold our business. She opened House of Ohm, and we made the move west down I-70. I began working for Yellow Springs Brewery the following April of 2016, where I have now worn many hats through the last near decade, most of which have involved sales and community engagement, both in the Dayton and Columbus regions. I also heard everybody needs a side hustle, so a couple years ago, I decided to dip my toe back into the real estate waters and became a mortgaged loan originator in the state of Ohio. Lily has just begun her freshman year at Oberlin, and Logan is beginning his high school voyage as a freshman here. The 4 of us have been very privileged to call Yellow Springs and Greene County our home for over 10 years now. And during that period, I have given back to this amazing community in many ways. I've managed, organized, and coached in our local Bulldog Youth Basketball Rec League, sat on the board of, coached, and greatly enhanced our local Youth Baseball Rec League, managed and organized our local travel soccer club, FC Springs. I worked with the Yellow Springs Community Foundation to create a liability insurance umbrella for all of our local youth sports to operate safely under, completely free of charge to them. Shout out to the Yellow Springs Community Foundation, thank you. Spent 5 years as, spent 5 years as a Yellow Springs Porch Fest organizer. I'm the PA announcer at the boys' high school soccer matches, and I currently sit on the Yellow Springs Chamber of Commerce board representing Yellow Springs Brewery, to name a few. Based on that history, I recently applied and interviewed for the Yellow Springs School's athletic director position that opened up in December. Spoiler alert, they hired an actual athletic director. It was fine, so very happily back to slinging suds and writing home loans I went. This process, however, was a truly mental exercise. It was truly a mental exercise in many ways. And coming out of it, I saw myself somehow being more involved in our young students' lives. Thanks to some good timing and local gossip, my focus very quickly shifted to bringing my unique skill set to our village school board. So, the three areas of opportunity I see currently facing our schools are a thoughtful navigation of federal and state mandates, the need for a larger student base, and more collaboration just in general within the school board. In both of my careers, positivity, communication, confidence, collaboration, consistency, and organization are all incredibly necessary requirements. These are all things I very much pride myself on, and I'm certain will benefit this board. In closing, I see this opportunity as my biggest give back to date. I'm very excited to cut the ribbon on our new schools, very excited to welcome a new superintendent, Megan Winston, while also celebrating the many successes of Dr. Terry Holden. I'm especially proud to be able to hand my son his diploma in 4 years, and I'm both humbled and honored to serve the families and students of Yellow Springs on this amazing school board. Thank you for your consideration.
I meant to mention, as I'm sure you know, that there are 3 seats open on the school board and there are 3 candidates. So the pressure is probably a little bit easier tonight for them than for the trustees. Next is Kristina Nowack Myers.
Hello, my name is Kristina Nowack Myers. I've been a public school teacher for 23 years, starting in the Los Angeles Unified School District, before returning to Ohio, where I've spent the past 17 years teaching English at the Springfield Clark Career Technology Center. In Yellow Springs, I've been proud to serve on the Mills Lawn PTO, the Superintendent's Advisory Committee, and to help restart Paul's Bulldog Youth Basketball. I love this community, and I'm eager to contribute in a new way. I'm running for school board because I believe public education is the foundation of a healthy democracy. I'm running for school board because here in Yellow Springs, we have something truly special, from the bike bus to Into the Wild, from STEM club to college visits, to our arts, music, and theater programs, to our athletics. Our students are offered incredible, unique experiences. I've worked in several public schools, and nothing compares to what we have here. I'm running to ensure that those opportunities continue. I'm running to support our educators and administrative team. I'm running because I'm alarmed by what's happening to public education in Ohio, and I'm ready to fight. And finally, I'm running because I want my daughters, Adeline and Lorelei, to see that when something matters to you, you show up and get involved. There are 3 key issues that I believe need our attention. The first is financial solvency. Ohio continues to use a school funding model that was declared unconstitutional back in 1997. This forces a heavy burden onto local taxpayers. If property taxes are eliminated, as some propose, it could get even worse. Our village has stepped up in a big way, funding our new building project and passing a 10-year operating levy. We need the state to pay its share. We need the state to stop shifting tax dollars to private schools who lack the financial and educational oversight that public schools face. We're fortunate to have a strong treasurer in Mr. McGrath, who has worked tirelessly to keep our district in good financial standing. However, there are several bills currently in the State House designed to defund public schools under the false promise of taxpayer relief. We must pay attention and push back. Secondly, we need to preserve our values. State lawmakers are proposing legislation that undermines public education and goes against what we believe as a community. I'm incredibly grateful for the way Dr. Holden and Ms. Winston have balanced legal responsibilities with a genuine commitment to preserving our values. I plan to continue outgoing board member Dorothy Bouquet's work by informing and mobilizing the public about harmful legislation like House Bill 42, which would require school districts to report students' immigration status. House Bill 155, which would prohibit diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in public schools. And House Bill 485, which would force schools to show a misleading anti-abortion fetal development video every year starting in 3rd grade. And regrettably, these are just a few of the many damaging bills currently being proposed. Yellow Springs may be a small district, but our voice is strong and our values are unwavering. I will partner with school board members from other like-minded communities around the state to write resolutions, advocate on behalf of our students, and make sure our voice is heard in Columbus. Third, community engagement. Our school district is the heart of Yellow Springs. As part of the Mills Lawn PTO, I helped launch inclusive events like Grand Friends Day and Winterfest. I've seen firsthand how events like these bring generations together and create lasting memories for our children. And I want to build on that spirit, creating more opportunities for villagers to feel connected to and invested in our schools. With the new building and renovations, we have more opportunities to bring the community into our schools. I would also like to facilitate more partnerships, taking our students out into the community where they can learn from our talented citizens. Our village's strength lies in nurturing both deep values and a global awareness in our children. In closing, I am honored to run for Yellow Springs School Board. I am deeply committed to our students, our educators, and the values that make this district so unique. I look forward to learning more, listening more, and working collaboratively to ensure that Yellow Springs schools continue to thrive for this generation and the next. Thank you.
Our third school board candidate is Kim Reichelderfer.
You need a shorter podium. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Reichelderfer, and I just want to start by saying thank you to the McKee Foundation and to all the other candidates for being brave enough to stand up here tonight. I'm running for the Yellow Springs School Board because I care deeply about this district, about the students, the teachers, and the values that make this community so special. My family and I didn't just move here for convenience. In fact, quite the opposite. I made the commitment to commute an hour one way so that my kids could attend a well-ranked school district that valued diversity and inclusion. A little bit about me, I'm a licensed mechanical engineer with 17 years of engineering experience, leading a research and development team that designs commercial cooking equipment. I also teach part-time as an adjunct instructor at Sinclair College, where I get to work directly with students who are figuring out who they want to be and how they want to get there. I have 3 daughters in the district. Kylie, a freshman at Yellow Springs High School, and at Mills Lawn, I have Casey in 4th grade, and Kelsey, better known to some as the future mayor of Yellow Springs, in 2nd. Between the 3, I have exposure to the staff and faculties in both, or facilities in both buildings. When I accepted my current position in Eaton, we had to decide where to live. We toured a few school districts, and when I asked one principal if our kids might have challenges being part of a family with 2 moms, she said, "I can't promise how the community will respond." That was all I needed to hear. On our way home, our realtor suggested we stop in Yellow Springs for dinner. It wasn't even Pride Month, but there were pride flags everywhere. I remember sitting at Peaches, looking around and realizing this is a place where my family can belong. As I researched the schools, I saw that the Yellow Springs School District was small, art-centric at a time when most schools were cutting programs and deeply committed to diversity and inclusion. Exactly what we were looking for. We found a home in Enon and open enrolled our daughter at Mills Lawn, and by 2020, we built our home in Miami Township and officially became part of this district. Since then, I've served on the Superintendent's Parental Advisory Council, the Facilities Advisory Committee, and have tried to help wherever I could. This district has given so much to my family, from the ability for my oldest to try a season of every sport she desires, to my youngest 2 learning to ride a bike in Miss Burlow's gym class, one even going from barely riding one day to feeling confident and supported enough to make it through a 7-mile ride with her class the next day. Now I want to give back in a bigger way. I'm running because I believe in this community and because I believe our students deserve schools that reflect our shared values: inclusion, respect, and opportunity for all. If elected, I plan to focus on 3 key priorities. First, ensuring that our facilities project is completed responsibly, on time, and within budget. The community entrusted us with significant resources to make our schools safer, more functional, and better equipped for learning. We have a responsibility to deliver on that promise. Students deserve to learn in spaces that are safe, climate-controlled, and free from distractions, where they can focus on being kids and on learning. Second, I want to protect and support every student, especially those who are most vulnerable. I've sat through meetings where proposed legislative changes could harm students who already face challenges, and it breaks my heart. For some students, school is the one place where they feel safe to be themselves. We must make sure that remains true. Every student, regardless of their identity or circumstance, deserves a learning environment where they feel valued, seen, and supported. And third, I want to foster a collaborative and respectful school board culture. We don't have to agree on everything. In fact, good leadership depends on a diversity of perspectives. But how we communicate matters. I believe we can disagree respectfully, listen actively, and always keep our focus on what's best for students. I also believe strong schools don't exist in isolation. They're part of a larger ecosystem. The village, the township, local businesses, and community organizations. I plan to strengthen those connections and keep open lines of communication across the groups so we can better support each other. Ultimately, I'm running to represent the voices that matter most: our students, our staff, our families, and our community. I'm running to represent the LGBTQ community, the STEM community, and parents who want to know their kids are in good hands. And above all, I'm running for my kids. Because I'll have a child in this district for the next 10 years. And I want these schools to continue to be a place where all kids can grow, learn, and belong. Thank you.
If you came in late, let me remind you that these delightful, fearless learners who are walking around the crowd are soliciting questions. And you can direct a question to the school board candidates, all of them, to the township trustee candidates, all of them, or to a specific person. And they will bring those questions to me. But first, we're back to ACE and the Youth Action Board, who has some questions for the school board candidates.
So our first question for the school board is, how do you plan to utilize elected student representatives to get the student perspective?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. Well, listening is the #1 form of communication. So if we're listening to our students and taking what they're telling us literally and listening to everything that they have to say, that's the one way that we're going to move things forward. So I would definitely take everything that the student boards were to offer us and listen to it and do as much as we can with that information.
I agree with Paul. I teach high schoolers. I love working with high schoolers. I think that they give me hope for the future in such a bleak world. And I would be really excited to collaborate with them and work with them. I saw one student came to the school board meeting, and I think he's planning to attend every month, and I think that's really important for students to know like what's happening with the school board and what policies are being made. So hopefully we can encourage more of that and maybe collaboration at work sessions.
I would, I guess, second what Paul and Christy both said. Being active listeners, encouraging a meeting space where students are encouraged to attend and feel heard during those times as well. Yeah, and I think, like I said, just active listening.
ACE has a second question.
Our second question is, how do you plan to address student safety with student to faculty, student to student, within the school facility, and with extracurricular activities?
I think along the lines of the first question as well, open, active listening. We can't solve problems that we don't know exist. So being able to listen and hear those problems and being a safe space for students to come and speak.
Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of things will be fixed when we have buildings with, different entrances will be different, badging in, like things will be different. I think that will help a lot. But yeah, listening and, hopefully you'll feel comfortable communicating with us what questions you have or how we can help.
Yeah, the doors and everything the way it's open right now in construction is an issue for sure. So once everything is complete, safety will be a little bit better, absolutely. But again, like they've both said and like we've said already, just active listening, communicating, finding out exactly what they need to feel safe. What makes you feel safe? Where do you need to feel safe? Is it a specific classroom? Is it a place in school that helps? Active listening, active participation with the students.
Great. Now we're going to proceed to the audience questions, and I'm going to flip back and forth, starting with the township trustees, a question, then a question for the school board, and so on. You do not have to all answer the question, but you may if you choose. And if you, Paul, if you'd hand the mic over to the trustees candidates. The first question, and each of you will have 1 minute to respond if you choose to do so. The first question for the trustees candidate, what plans do you have to right size the fire department staff to ensure the community's safety?
Well, I am not a fire chief or a fire industry expert, but what I understand, what I've learned was we've added 2 full-time staff to each shift. We have 24-hour shifts every 3 days. And I've learned that rather than trying to patch in part-time employees and staff, that 2 firefighters who can predictably, I should say mostly paramedic, we do 80% of our work is emergency rescue and only 20% fire. But having 2 on staff every shift that predictably work together every 3 days, the 2 people become more than the sum of their parts. There's a synergy that happens. They can predict with each other. That's the thing I have to add about staffing. And then just we've gone to a 3-person on-call staff. That gives us the most flexibility right now.
Maryland would have answered this the best, but I'd say we just need to have personnel there ready at all times, and if somebody makes a phone call, they need to be there instantly.
Yeah, I agree that Marilyn did a great job of answering that. And she also kind of spearheaded bringing in Fred Kauser, who I had a conversation with. And he said basically especially a fire, you need to have 3 people. And the township trustees at the last meeting just hired on new people who seem really excited about coming into the system. So I think it can be hard right now to recruit good people, so having a really good system, making sure your equipment is all well-maintained and up to date is actually also a really important recruitment strategy. So we've gotten really good advice, we've got a really good chief, and I think that will help all the way down the line. It makes everybody feel safer and more excited to be in the workplace.
Now we're going back to the school board, and a question for each of you, or any of you that choose to answer it. What will be your first action as part of the school board?
My first action will be getting spun up on the current situation and getting training from the OSBA, so I understand how to not act, you know what I mean, how to, sorry. So we know like what the proper procedures are. I mean, there's a way that meetings are supposed to be run and there are things that you were supposed to do, and we need training. Clearly, we're new, so that's my first step.
Yeah, agreed. I have a lot to learn, and I'm the first person to admit that. I will also tell you I'm a very fast learner. I learn by doing and acting, and so as long as I'm put to work and kept busy, I'm sure I will catch right on and get up to speed in no time and be able to start governing our school board as needed.
I agree with trading, and as well, I'd like to add communication, talking to past board members a little bit more, trying to understand current state better, and how we can help.
Now a question for the trustees. How do you handle a difficult trustee?
I don't. I might come back.
I don't see the need to have too many arguments amongst the trustees. Do your due diligence and be as one as much as you can is all I've got on that.
Well, I have been to all the meetings lately, and they have been painful often because there's so much conflict and arguments that are just kind of spinning around. And my feeling is I learned Robert's Rules of Order when I was in 4-H starting about age 8, right? And Robert, it's not fancy, and it's, there are other ways to run meetings, but it is the standard for governance in this country, and that's why we learned it in 4-H. In fact, because 4-H was under the township where I grew up. I was a Grant Gleaner from Grant Township. That's where I grew up. Raised pigs, worked in the fields, was picking rocks and walking beans from the age of 4, and learning Robert's rules. And what that does is it means you don't have a motion on the floor, then you're not having a discussion. You focus. It just helps people focus, and it kind of protects the township from those kinds of meetings that don't go anywhere fast. Okay.
I think you've all said an answer. So, truth or dare, Lori, when you were in 4-H at first, did you think it was rabbit's rules? No. Okay.
You're going to make me say the pledge, which I don't have.
No. All right, back to the school board. Will you work to keep the school board out of non-educational matters such as real estate?
I think we need to listen and be open-minded to all, but at the same time, our primary focus as school board members are the students, and we need to listen and understand what's best for the students and what's best for the schools.
I agree. I think time needs to be spent on educational matters. That's what's important. The students we have in front of us. There's a lot, like I mentioned, there's a lot coming legislatively. We need to be focused on that. And we need to stay in our lane, and our lane is education.
Yep, again, agree. Definitely need to listen to and take care of the current students that are right here in front of us. And everything's got a filter. Every problem, every issue, everything should have a filter, and that first filter should be our current students.
And now a question for the actually, this one is only for Mr. Hanna. Yeah, no pressure, Jed. As a named intervener in the Kingwood Solar Project, you cited farmland preservation and the disturbance to your viewshed as primary reasons for opposing this project. Please explain why preserving your viewshed outweighs the interest of the landowner to create an income stream by leasing farmland and coincidentally making energy policy the purview of township trustees and local governments. I'll hand you the question.
Okay, I'll read that over. There is a place for solar, but I don't see the place in Greene County. unless you want to put a small array up on your own property, which is contradictory to this question. But I don't see why you should have 1,500 acres altogether put into solar panels. And on soil that can raise a beautiful garden or any other kind of crop that you want to raise. If you want solar panels, maybe take it to the desert. That's all I got.
And do either of the other candidates want to say anything about solar panels?
Well, I'll say something about solar panels. There's, the large industrial solar has all but been chased from this county. The Supreme Court is keeping us waiting on the final, I shouldn't be pessimistic. The Supreme Court is keeping us on the final ruling of on the Kingwood permit that affected Jed's, I think, view on all three sides of your farm, correct? Yeah. So the second level of solar is also small distribution solar, small distribution networks that we do have jurisdiction over, and our zoning commission has decided to not take that up and not create zoning regulations to allow that, and I hope that over the years they will.
One of the exciting things about solar is that it is getting more powerful and smaller. And so what I am hoping is that we have more powerful and smaller approaches to solar, and also using more things like maybe the roofs of data centers that they seem to be wanting to put up all over Ohio. And one of the things I'm excited about is that the Ohio legislature has done what they should do with all corporations. They've actually stepped up and really regulated solar. They have put in decommissioning bonds that you have to file ahead of you. You have to put money in so that those solar panels, once they stop operating, have to be, there's money there to take them down and take them out. They've also put in, this was just recently passed to protect the soil. So I'm really excited about that, because to me that should set a precedence for how they're treating all kinds of rural development, whether it's housing, whether it's data centers, whether it's whatever. We should be having that attitude towards soil and towards being able to take apart the plants, which we didn't with coal, and Yellow Springs paid for 2 terrible Superfund coal sites for many, many years because there was no decommissioning bonds required of anything like that ahead of time. So.
Ooh, listen to that sound. All right, back to the school board. What is your thinking about the 3.8 acres that were rezoned for high density? Would you change the zoning?
I don't know that it makes sense to change. I don't know anything about zoning and changing zoning or whatever. I think that would be like maybe the superintendent's decision, and then they would come to us with what they thought was best. I'm not a real estate person. So.
I got nothing.
Nothing, I mean.
I agree.
Okay, she said I agree. We're going to go back now to the trustees and ask, what do you know about the budget for the next 1 to 3 years?
Well, I think I won't speak too much to this. I am still getting up to speed. I have looked at the budgets backwards, but looking based on what Marilan has told me and watching what's happening, there hasn't been forward-looking budgeting, and that's actually kind of alarming to me. And so I don't know, Marilan may be able to speak with some more detail about it, but that's one of the big issues, is we don't seem to really have that kind of budgeting in place right now.
I do not know much about the budget as of yet. I do know that they said a new fire truck or fire engine will be about $1 million, if not bought in the next 4 years. It could be $1.5 million by 4 years from now to 5. So we need a budget for that for sure.
Well, despite the things I said earlier, we're in good shape. We have a $2.1 million budget. 75% of it is fire and rescue. Our roads and bridge budget is in great shape. Our general fund needs some shepherding or some work. We just need to plan better. We just need to, and actually, to be completely honest, we don't have real good data numbers. We could really tighten up in our fiscal officer's office. There's a little bit of guesswork. There's a little bit, on my part at least, when I'm trying to figure out where we are in year-to-date spending and things. There's some honing that has to do. We lost a 20-year fiscal officer. At least she was here at least for 20 years, if not more. And we just got a new one this year, and it's been a rocky landing. At Miami Township, a lot of things that people do are in their heads, and when they retire, the information goes out the door. So don't panic, we're in reasonably good shape, but we have work to do.
And a question for all the school board candidates. Please state as clearly as you can your stance on academic freedom in our classrooms, including talking about controversial topics.
Yeah, I think, as mentioned, communication is key, and so keeping all of those types of topics on the board and available to be talked about in class is very important, especially with the current climate that we're living in right now, making sure that all of our children have a chance to know and understand what's happening around them, and what better place to learn it than in a safe place such as our schools and with their fellow students.
As a licensed teacher, I have a little bit of a different perspective. I think that teachers have to be very careful in this climate. Our license have been threatened for all kinds of things. So I think it's okay for students to be able to discuss and share their opinions, but teachers have to walk a very fine line and be more, I can't think of the word, like what you're doing, moderators, that's what I meant, moderators, instead of, we have to be careful. Public education teachers are under attack right now. We have to be really careful about what we say.
I agree with both Paul and Christy as well. Classrooms to me should be forums for open, honest communication. The students should feel free to speak their minds. But again, for the teachers, this is their livelihood, and some of them need to be more cautious on that front. But the students should have complete freedom to speak what they would like to speak.
A question for the township. Cancer and other devastating illnesses like Parkinson's are connected to herbicides and pesticides. Which of you will initiate legislation to protect our humans and the environment by limiting herbicide, pesticide, and especially Roundup use by residents and farmers? This is a long question. I'll hand it to you.
This is a long question, and I have a short answer. I don't believe we have the power to regulate that. Prove me wrong.
I know we don't have the power to regulate that. EPA regulates all chemicals that are used by farmers.
So that means what we can do is advocate. I think it also helps to really listen to people. As somebody who was a teacher for many years, and my dad's a farmer, and sometimes Dad would get pretty mad about people who had never farmed a day in their life coming in and telling a farmer how to do their business. just as I, as a teacher, can get really frustrated when people who have never spent 1 minute in a classroom think that they know how to teach. So the first important thing, farming, like any area of our economy, changes all the time. It's really important to listen and learn from farmers and open dialogues about alternatives, but really respecting that people who have been doing something for decades do have a lot of knowledge from that work, and recognizing that sometimes when we've done something for decades, it's helpful to see what an outsider sees, and we can really learn from the dialogue. So I would want a lot of dialogue around any of those issues. But yeah, people here in Yellow Springs, we should definitely be thinking about that for our lawns, because it's purely aesthetic.
I've been putting the hardball questions first, and we're down to about 10 more minutes together. And the questions that are in front of me are pretty softball. So if anybody's got a hardball question you want to send up, this is your chance. For the school board candidates, tell us what makes our school district special and why you chose it for your own kids. Some of you already answered it, so you can answer it again or pass the mic.
I answered this one pretty well with my speech, I think, and so I'm going to pass it along to Paul and Kristina.
So we moved here for the schools, specifically 8 years ago when my daughter Lorelei was 1. The schools offer, just in their mission, like the fearless thinkers, courageous advocates. That's the kind of education, that's how we teach them at home. But a lot of times that's not, like what you're teaching at home isn't always mirrored in the classroom, and in this district it is mirrored in the classroom. So I feel like they're getting like a double emphasis on the values that we hold most important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Our number one asset here is our teachers, first and foremost. All of the teachers that my children have had through their years here at Yellow Springs Schools have all been phenomenal. And they continue to be shining lights in both of my children's lives. So I can't continue to thank them enough. In general, you know, what brought us here was a sense of community. I tell people it's like raising your kids in the 80s. You know, you let them roll out on their bikes and they'll come back when it's dark, and we've loved every second of that, and hope to keep that here for a long time for more people to come.
For the trustees, talk about the importance of democratic process and bringing the broader public into the discussion. How do you plan to do this?
Well, has been said a lot this evening through procedure and order. I have a mentor who told me halfway through my term, he said, Marilan, you're running around trying to fix symptoms. You're wearing yourself out. Those are symptoms. You need to go to the root of the problem, which is procedure and good order and policies. And as you start to put those in place, you'll see the symptoms disappear. So that's what I have to offer to that.
To run a meeting as it should be run, without compromise, and doing good for our township.
Yeah, I think there's always a balance when you're having a meeting between inviting in as many voices as possible, but also making sure it's efficiently run, so that, because a really long meeting can also interfere with democracy, right? People can't stay for 3 or 4 hours. It puts too many demands on them. So I think adding things like work sessions, I think a 3-person board, it's almost impossible to honor the spirit of the Sunshine Law, let alone the letter, because 2 people constitutes a quorum. So any conversation outside of the public meeting, if you start talking about anything to do, you start running that risk. So I propose work sessions where the public would be invited to watch, but that it would mostly be fishbowl style, and the commissioners would, the trustees would be working and dialoguing openly in those sessions, and then forums for the public.
And the last question for the schools, how will you support the district's administration, teachers, and staff?
I think that they're our biggest asset as a district. And I think listening to them, supporting them, trusting them, and I think just trusting their opinion. They're the experts, but also pulling in our opinions as parents and community members to make the best decisions for the students.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. It's important to just, as we've all mentioned this whole night, open lines of communication, constant collaboration, listening, making sure that everybody's needs are met equally.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important to understand that we are not superintendents. Like, that is not our job. Like, we do not have that skill set. We don't have the education. And so we need to listen to and trust our administrators when they tell us, what situations are, and trust our teachers. I think that's the best gift we can give them, is to just trust and respect them and listen to them and work with them.
Kate's just handed me another question for the school board. And I need a clarification from the person that wrote it. You said the LITE project, L-I-T-E. Do you mean the low-income housing project? Oh. Okay, all right. What have you learned about the LITE project? What would you do differently as a school board member?
I think what I would do differently is make smart business decisions on that project. I don't believe that it was looked at from a sense of financials, what's best for the school in the end. And I think I would look at it from a different perspective in that sense.
I agree. I think that our duty is to protect the district and our district assets for our students. And the thing that I would do differently is listen to the administrators who are the experts on our district.
Yep, agree. Protecting our children's assets and resources in front of us and our current children that are in our school districts right now is the most important thing. Putting everything through that filter of our current children first.
Okay, I can say that in my years of moderating in Yellow Springs, this has been the most civil audience, the least boisterous audience I've ever worked with. And in terms of moderating the candidates, I'm so glad I'm not moderating the presidential debates. Okay.
So, again, thank you for coming this evening, for being participatory in democracy. And we want to thank Fred, because a good moderator makes all the difference. And we're happy to have Fred. Please vote. Get out and vote. Early voting is already started in the state of Ohio. Go do it now. Vote. All right. Good luck to all our candidates. We appreciate your time this evening. I know that the folks here are very happy to have had opportunity to hear from you. I'm going to tell them that you're going to stick around so that anyone who wants to chat with you can do that at the back of the room. One little housekeeping thing, if you would help us pick the chairs up and get them back into the rack, that would be extremely helpful. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for the process.